contract or whatever between the Machinists Union and Uber back in 2016. And in the agreement, Uber paid them. So Uber gave them their money. The first email that IDG sent out to all the drivers that said, you now have a union, we are your union. If the driver hit reply, the reply went to Uber. IDG was created, IDG was created to give Uber cover. IDG is the driver face for Uber's interest. That's their job.
So Uber funding them?
Yes. And in 2020, at one point, they said Lyft was also funding them. Now today, they're very clever.
I'm sorry, meanwhile, I would like to add, in addition, the guy last time interrupting our for this program, Mr. Raul, his name is Gabriel was saying in the group. That guy on that day was an Uber tag on him and then saying, hey, you guys are Uber nothing to do with you protest against Uber. TLC is the one.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying on that day. And the second time in the IDZ, he was again, he was there. I see in a video.
Yeah.
He was saying like, hey, he was actually accusing the Uber. And he has the two faces there, you know.
Yes.
Like, on that day, he was accusing TLC, and the other day in the IDG program, he was saying, accusing the Uber, saying we have a family, we have children, like you can't lock out this and that. Most of the things he was saying in the video I see in the group. And that's why he was saying like two faces, you know. And everybody, even myself, but it's confusing.
So that's their job. Everybody attention, please, attention. So, brother, that is their job, okay? IDG's job is to be the driver face of Uber's interests. Their job is to confuse the drivers and to divide the drivers, and right now, their main job is to divide the drivers from the Taxi Workers Alliance. Because NYTWA is the only one that has been directly fighting only and solely for the interests of the drivers. They have been spreading a lie that TWA put yellow cabs on the Uber app. We had nothing to do with it. If you go back to the statement, you can go on Twitter. You can see the press releases with my statement on it, where I talked about this was a trap for the yellow cab drivers. That the reason Uber is doing this is because the passengers that are still taking street hails, Uber wants to take them over. Uber is not paying the yellow cab driver the metered rate. They pay them less money. So at the TLC public hearing, like last month, TWA members said the rule needs to be that if Uber is going to dispatch yellow or green cabs, they need to pay the drivers at the metered rate. You know, now IDG is claiming that there's 50,000 yellow cab drivers on the app. This is not true. The way it works is yellow cabs have what's called the driver information monitor in the front seat. That's supplied by either Curb or Arrow. Each taxi has from one company or the other company. Uber's trips to yellow cabs are dispatched on this monitor. They go through Curb or Arrow. The driver doesn't even have the Uber app on. Because Uber app, you need to register the vehicle. If you're driving a yellow cab, you can't go and register that directly with Uber. This is all done through Curb and Arrow. Right now, there's about 7,000 yellow cabs working every single day. There's not even 50,000 drivers. It's altogether, in any month, it's maybe 10,000 drivers working even one shift. Uber and Lyft, it's close to 90,000 drivers working even one shift. Okay? Now, so the yellow cabs are not bringing down the utilization rate. That is a lie. they're not even on the app. The trips don't get counted the same way. Number two, it's not even that many drivers. Number three, the number of trips that Uber has dispatched to yellow cabs is equal to 1% of the trips they dispatch directly to Uber and Lyft FHVs. For Uber, it's a very low number of trips for Uber and Lyft, right? But there, and let me tell you one other thing that is extremely important. If Uber decides in its business interest that it wants to dispatch trips to liveries or corporate black cars or green cabs or yellow cabs, the thing that protects the Uber and Lyft driver is the utilization rate. Because Uber, if it does not dispatch the trips to you under the utilization rate, it will have to pay you more money. So the only way that you make sure that Uber makes the Uber and Lyft driver the priority for the dispatching is actually the utilization rate. You see what I mean? And so, but they're trying to twist it. Why? They're twisting it in the interest of Uber. Now, very interesting. IDG's formal account, their official account, is not saying these things. It's their individual members in their own personal TikToks or WhatsApp or Facebook. They're doing this propaganda because they know formally it would be a lie for them to spread these things. They're just trying to divide the drivers, and they're trying to divide the Uber and Lyft drivers from the Taxi Workers Alliance. When the wage theft started, that for when Uber and Lyft, was taking the money of the sales tax and the black car fund surcharge from the drivers, IDG said that there was nothing wrong with what Uber was doing. They were saying that to drivers online, on like uberpeople.net. Okay, why are they so quiet about it now? Because they had nothing to do with it. It was TWA that fought for that. We are a union that has all the drivers from this industry in one union. Why? Because that is how you build the maximum power for the drivers. If the drivers are divided against each other, you're going to fight for the crumbs. While the companies and the TLC, they keep all the gold. Drivers only have each other for the power. If Uber and Lyft drivers, want to take an action, and Uber wants to use the yellow cab or green cab drivers to undercut the action, it is easier for them to do that if the drivers are divided. And if you look at the history of TWA's campaigns, there has never been one demand which required taking something out of the hands of one group of drivers to give it to the other. If you take what the drivers are left with in their hands are just the crumbs. Even if you steal from the drivers, what are you taking? You have to aim at the companies and at the TLC. That's where the wealth is. And even on the yellow cab side, look at the work we did against the banks and hedge funds. These are the most powerful financial corporations in our country. Our union did a 15-day hunger strike against those companies. We don't care if it's a hedge fund, if it's a bank, if it's Uber, if it's Lyft, if it's a taxi garage, or it's a base. If they exploit the drivers, we will stand up against them. And this is what IDG is trying to divide because it is in the interest of Uber, their paymaster, to keep the drivers divided and to keep the drivers cynical. If the drivers say to each other, nothing can be done, we can never be united, then it's harder to get the drivers to rise up and take action. That's what these people are trying to do. The only way to counter them is for us to keep organizing in our big numbers, and that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you.